All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar about AI changing the SEO game for agencies. I am Nate Henry. I am the VP of the channel business here at Birdeye. And I am joined by someone who probably needs no intro to this great crowd we have here, Mr. Darren Shaw, founder of Whitespark and one of the world's leading experts in local SEO. Thank you so much for joining us today, Darren. Our session today is going to be about what's changing, what's working, how agency leaders can stay not just relevant and not just even competitive, but getting out ahead. And we're going to keep today really tactical because, Darren, you've worked with hundreds of agencies and you have a tremendous understanding of the pulse of what's really happening in the SERPs right now. So kicking it over to you, Darren, would love to, if you could start with giving us some feedback on, your background and how you've been working with agencies in SEO over all these years.
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I run a company called Whitespark, and we've been doing web development and SEO since 2005, so just had our 20th anniversary. And we have software and services for optimizing, reporting on local search. That's what we do at Whitespark. And so I also run the local search ranking factor survey. That's kind of the industry Bible about how do you rank in Google's local results. And so I've been doing that since 2017 when David Mim handed the reins over to me. He was the one that started it back in 2008. And so I'm kind of known for that. And then, I'm just busy on YouTube and LinkedIn and all the other social platforms, just chatting about what's happening in local search and paying attention to how to optimize. And yeah, so that's me. I speak on stages sometimes. Try to do less of that these days. I like to do this. I like to do these types of things where I don't have to get in a plane and I can just present from the comfort of my own home. So yeah, that's a little bit of my background.
Great. Well, love to, if we could get into it for our audience here. If you could start with, what are the biggest trends or maybe the most important trends that you're watching right now that agencies really can't afford to ignore?
Well, everyone would say AI, and they're not wrong. That is definitely the hot trend right now. It's just kind of an exciting time in local search because, for a decade, we've just been Google, Google, Google. And now there are new players and there's new things to learn and new things to understand and figure out how will search change with these new technologies. And so, Google's algorithm was somewhat understood, but we now have new algorithms. We have new interfaces that people are using to discover local businesses. And so that is definitely the trend. That is the main thing that people are thinking about, trying to figure out. And yeah, I think it's a really exciting time.
What's one bit of advice you could give to everyone to try to cut through some of the noise? Because everyone's talking about trends and tons of news, and it's like yanking you one way or the other. And
yeah, it's probably not the first time you've heard this, but as we investigate and understand a little bit more about how to rank in ChatGPT or Google's Gemini or Claude, any of these, like how do you get visibility on these platforms? It really does keep coming back to SEO. So good news, agencies. It's all the same stuff you've already been doing, as long as you've been doing it the right way. We are kind of learning a little bit more, and you might be refining your processes a bit, but you agencies are in the absolute best position to solve these visibility questions and problems that your clients are asking. It's a new era. I'm excited. I think it's a great time to be an agency, an SEO agency, because there's no one better suited to help those brands, those local businesses, whoever you're working for, appear across multiple search platforms. Everything that you've been studying for years and years and years and figuring out how to rank your clients in Google, good news, same stuff generally applies to the AI search interfaces.
I feel like, Darren, so for a living, I've been talking to agencies for probably maybe 10 years now. And I feel like every 18 months, I'll start getting a bunch of questions like, our agencies going to go out of business and people are going to start doing it on their own and da 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 da. And I love your response here. I always tell people, like, I feel like if you're asking me that question, maybe you should just go talk to one of your friends who owns a small business and see what kind of help they really, really need to be successful. And you'll realize the amount of help they need is tremendous. And we're in a great time for people who love marketing, who love to serve SMBs and solve problems with them. There's surely not a lack of demand there. So,
No.
So to get into something on the tactical side of this, Darren, what would you like? What specific steps should a agency be taking right now to get their clients to start showing up in AI generated answers?
Yeah. So it is the same SEO stuff you should have always been doing. And so a little bit more focused, like these are some like, oh, what tweaks would I make to my process at my agency? And we do have an agency side of the business where we have, 70 small business clients that we help them rank in Google. But they're all asking us, okay, well, hey, we're hearing on the leads like, hey, how'd you hear about us? Be like, we found you on ChatGPT. So we are seeing that starting to trickle in, right? And so what do you do? What are the small adjustments you might make? Really thinking about your semantic structure. Almost everything I say is like good agencies were already doing this before, but semantic structure of your content. And I'm not talking about schema. I'm really talking about your HTML. Some like WordPress page builders just put everything in divs, and your structure of your site is not ideal. You want to be thinking about the actual page layout and the HTML structure, going from heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, bullet points, breaking, like just really flowing your HTML structure in a very good way. You should have been doing that for Google all along. That is one thought. I would say another thing that's kind of come back. This is great for Whitespark because we have a listing service, citation service. Citations are a little hotter than they used to be, and we're seeing this in the local search ranking factors. So ChatGPT and these other AIs will reference the broader web in a way that wasn't maybe as visible before with Google, but it's like, why are you returning these results? Well, these ones are cited in all these major sites. Like we are referencing these places we expect to find these businesses. And so while some agencies may have been, pushing citations to the side as like not much of an important factor, they're kind of gaining in importance now. People have a little bit more visibility on that as a factor and are thinking a little bit harder about it. So citations, going a little bit broader with your citations, and particularly making sure that you are on industry specific citation sites and that your profiles on those sites are accurate and optimized. That is a growing thing, and we're going to see it in the 2023 local search ranking factors. Citations only made up 7% of the pie. I am yet to crunch the data. I'm about to publish the new one, but I'd be surprised if it's not 10% of the pie now. I think we're seeing a growth, a sort of renaissance for citations. The other one is, for the longest time, people were very much focused on only Google reviews. And so another tweak I'm seeing and we're doing is diversifying our review set. Like we are sending people to those industry specific sites to make sure we're getting reviews on those. Facebook reviews have become more important now. Yelp, if you can get them, but there's not a lot you can do to encourage reviews on Yelp. And so just really kind of diversifying your review set is valuable. And that's something that, agencies may have only been really worried about Google reviews for good reason, because Google is really the only player in town. It's like, why would I waste a review on TripAdvisor when I could get a review on Google? Because that's going to be more valuable, right? Depending on your industry. And so that was the thing for a long time. But now, because we're seeing the LLMs return review sites that are like, not Google, that it has really increased the importance of that. So I would say those are the kind of like real key tweaks and changes.
Yeah.
We could have a whole separate conversation about schema. A lot of people say schema, but I'm on the fence about that one. Yeah.
I love what you're saying for a number of reasons. One, I'm nerdy, and I've actually liked listings for a very long time. Love listings. It's one of the ways I got into this space. I was one of the owners of a listings company for about 8 years,
Right.
and I remember the reason that company came about is purely simple because it was getting leads for SMBs at the time. Listings were so valuable. You could just launch a really nice, well-structured website following these best practices. You just walk through being smart about it. And then you launch a bunch of citations for a legit company. And like overnight you have, 300 page one rankings, and they held, and it was incredible. And then that all went away. It changed a lot. And to your point now, the importance of the diversity of reviews is crazy. And I'm even seeing, Darren, I would love your opinion on this. Like if I have friends who own businesses and I'm trying to, help them on the weekend or whatever, and like, hey, how do you solve this problem? I'll commonly ask the GPT, how, why is this business being outranked by that business? And I'll commonly get back very specific things like they're showing up in the best of newspaper result for Fort Worth, Texas, or they're on the top 10 best contractor in Tarrant County, or like really specific, way farther down in the weeds than these horizontal citations. So curious, before we go to the next topic here, what are your thoughts on this, and how can agencies, who are our audience here, how can agencies start playing in that space and helping gain not only reviews but citations, for when the GPTs care about that local search so much?
Yeah, the strategy is pretty straightforward. You just ask the LLMs what are the important sites. Like you can just do a query like, show me the best plumbers in Denver. Let's say that. Like I need a recommendation for plumber in Denver. Please give me 5 options, right? So, okay, ChatGPT will give you the 5 options. Then you can ask it, why did you pick those 5 options? Show me the sites that you're referencing to determine which ones are the best. And then it'll give you a list. It'll be like, hey, well, they're listed on the best of, like as you just mentioned, right? So now you've got your list. Now you just go and look at that list and be like, how do I get listed there? And oftentimes I'll have a contact form, but the people that own and maintain these lists, they know what's up, and they're like, aha, we're going to cash in on this opportunity. So usually it's a paid play. You got to kind of pay to get into those, but it is worth it. There is something we need to talk about, and it is that ChatGPT and other LLMs are still such a tiny drop in the bucket of actual lead sources. And so like, it is true that all the agencies are thinking about this and investing a lot of time into this, but it's just like, it's small beans compared to Google. So everything you've been doing for Google is still the lion's share of what you need to be focused on. And so these best of, but it's true, if you get on these best of lists, they're going to help Google too. And they're going to help, the forthcoming rollout of AI mode on Google. Soon there won't be a standard search bar. Everything will be AI. And when that happens, what are the things that you have to do? So this is why everyone's trying to get ahead of it and making sure that they are doing the optimization that they can now, so that when AI mode becomes the de facto, they're ready. They're already positioned. So, but yeah, that's how you do it. Find out what they are, ask the LLMs for what they are, and don't just ask ChatGPT. Ask Gemini, ask Claude, ask the other one. Build your list of these are the key sites we want to make sure that our clients are listed on, and then hunt them down. Try to get your clients listed on all of them. Some of them might have a submit, like a standard vertical directory, but some of them may be like, contact us. And then they're like, all right, yeah, $3,000 a year, we'll get you listed, whatever it is, right? So you have to make the call about whether it makes sense to list your business on it, but it depends on the industry too. Like, you're talking personal injury lawyer, they don't blink twice at $3,000 a year for a listing to have that kind of placement. It's part of the strategy, and they're willing to invest in it because the payoff is so big. So that's a thing. And the interesting study just came out from SEMrush, and Rand Fishkin was talking about this, where we are seeing ChatGPT grow, right? Queries on ChatGPT is growing. You're like, aha, will ChatGPT eventually overtake Google? The reality is that Google's growing too. So the actual query volume on Google is also growing. And so this is really good research. It's not Google's data. They're doing this with, they monitor people's search behaviors. And so all those numbers are up. And so actually ChatGPT and AI-based search is increasing search on Google because people are starting their journey there, and then they go to Google to either look up the brand or whatever. So all of it still plays into each other. ChatGPT is not anywhere near eating Google's lunch, but these are just things to think about.
And people are thinking about this constantly, and a lot of I touched on this right when we kicked off. A lot of their inspiration behind thinking about this is they're just trying to get out ahead. They don't want to be left behind. Future proofing is a word we hear a lot, and Darren, you probably know this, but we have about 700 agencies that work with us now, and thankfully to things like GPTs, I can run all this analysis on what do these agencies tell us when they get on phone calls with us, and what are they struggling with, and what are they trying to solve, so I can figure out how to get my head around, can we do the things they're trying to get us to help them with, or how do we properly articulate that we can, etc. And one of the things that rise to the top, Darren, probably the number one strategic approach that rises to the top would be, they're all trying to future proof. They realize that they're not software engineers. They're never going to be software engineers. A lot of them have tried to create their own GPTs and then frustrated because it doesn't work as well as they thought it was going to, and had a great concept, and is realizing they need to put time into they're phenomenal at building customer relationships. They're phenomenal at closing sales. They're phenomenal articulating value and all those things. And that's where they need to focus. So they'll come to us to future-proof their business, so they don't have to worry about product innovation. So, you laid some really important groundwork earlier, where you said one of the ways you future-proof is you just do the things that you've been taught from the very beginning that you should have been doing all along, like these simple structures and things like that. If there is one area that's evolved in search that you believe is going to be, something we'll be talking about in 15 or 20 years, it's kind of been added to this foundation of what you must do. What first comes to mind when I ask you what might that be, if you were to identify one thing that could get added to these foundational blocks?
YouTube video. I would say it's a huge gap for a lot of agencies. They're not currently helping their clients generate video content for video platforms, YouTube in particular. YouTube isn't a massive channel. It is so valuable when you can get a small business into YouTube. And you're talking about future proofing. People are consuming content and looking up businesses and looking up information on many, many platforms. It used to just be straight to Google, but now a lot of people are going to TikTok. They're going to YouTube Direct, and YouTube is this. It's kind of if you don't currently have that as a piece of your agency, you should start developing it. It's this is how we're going to help you build a channel and produce content in your local market on YouTube. I would say, if we're talking about looking into 15 years from now, every agency is going to have that as part of their offering, because it's what have we been doing as SEOs? We've been generating content. That's part of what we do. And the video content is kind of, a lot of agencies are doing it now, and the ones that are seeing real benefits for their clients. But I also think all that video content is super important, particularly for the future, because of the authenticity of it. That is one of the things that is, especially as AI generated content gets better and better and indistinguishable from human written content, how do you prove authenticity in its video? And so I really think even 5 years from now, video is a must. And so if you're trying to get ahead of it, you're trying to future proof, you should be adding video to your offering, in my opinion.
So Darren, I want to get tactical with you on this one topic real quick before we go to the next topic. So what I will commonly hear, what our teams will commonly hear, is they know these agencies are telling us they know their clients need content. But they'll tell me this story, which I know is true. They'll tell me this story, which is, but Nate,
it's a very true story.
Yeah, it is. It's a true story. But Nate, my clients are electricians, and they have 5 trucks, and I can barely even get 5 minutes with them.
Yep.
I have no idea how to get them content that's not, generic and canned and whatever.
Yeah.
What tactical recommendation do you have, Darren? Maybe it's not even to address that, but they're trying to solve the problem of getting meaningful content to publish. How do you propose?
It's tough. You get some clients, they're like, hey, that's what I hired you for. Like, can you just make me rank? Come on. And so that is definitely an issue. We deal with it as well. But I do think you must educate and get a minimum buy-in from the clients on content production. But the reality is you can't just ask your electrician, hey, can you write me the answer to these frequently asked questions? I'd be like, no, I don't write words on a keyboard. I don't do that. I'm out in the field fixing electrical panels, right? And so it's like, that's not my thing. I don't write. And so that's where video actually becomes so valuable. And that's what we do in our agency. So we need content. We're like, okay, we're building a new service page on the website for this. We get 2 birds, 1 stone. We get them on a Zoom call similar to like this kind of a thing. We make sure they have a good camera. You can generally just use your iPhone and set it up on a stand, and we hit record. And we'll record most of these on Riverside, and we ask them the questions. And they answer the questions, and what do we get? One, we got great text content, because now that's going to go on the website in the FAQ sections, or we're going to build a whole page around their answer. It's so authentic because it's in their own voice. And we just made a video. It's a guy. It doesn't have to be super high produced stuff. It's just video content. And that video content goes on their Google business profile. We make a Google post about it. We push that Google post up, like answering that specific question. It goes on their YouTube channel. It goes on their TikTok. It goes on their Instagram. Video content is gold. And that is the easiest way to get it. And it's just real content. It doesn't have to be super great or produced. It just has to exist. And that's the way I highly recommend all agencies start producing this kind of content. And as you do the repetitions, you get better and better at it. And you start identifying a little bit of production quality that you can pull into that, especially on the editing side. So it's just a great service that I think agencies should be offering. And if we're talking about future proofing, I really think this is a direction to go into.
Wonderful tactical advice, Darren. Thank you very much for that. And for those of you who didn't pick up on what he said, a tool that he uses, Riverside.
Yeah. Riverside.
And agencies, these agencies, we love our tools, right? I just heard, Darren, that you guys released a new tool that's very specific to local ranking factors and grids. Could you share a teeny bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So we just launched our local ranking grid software. You've probably seen this kind of thing before. Lots of local software companies have this kind of a thing, but we just launched ours and it's gorgeous. Oh man, the reports look so good. I think we've done such a good job on the design and the user interface of this thing. The competitive analysis features in our grid are just fantastic. So, and we also track to 100. Most of the things only go to 20. So just being able to compare side by side and see a full breakdown of what, why competitors are outranking you. And it's just great. If you're using some kind of grid, check it out. We have a fantastic new grid software that I'm so thrilled. We've been building it for like a year. Yep. Yes. But unrelated to video.
One of my actually, you know what, Darren, I'll be honest with you here. My favorite reason to look at your content is it tends to be very tactical. And you put out a post a while back where you'd have built your own tools. I don't know if that's how you would describe it. That's how I would describe it. You built a GPT that you determined was pretty reliable for internal link optimization.
Yeah.
How could this audience benefit? They can go look you up on LinkedIn and they can find that post. I'm sure it's one of your most popular posts in the last several months or whatever. But how can our audience benefit from experimenting in the way that you did? And we'll love to even to talk for a minute or two about the rigor that went in on your side to just getting that tool to a spot where you were confident in it, because I don't think people understand what they might be getting into.
Perfect. Yeah. So I had two use cases I really thought ChatGPT could help me with. One was kind of crawling my website and giving me, pulling all my existing title tags and then giving me suggestions for new title tags. That first version that I built kind of sucked, and ChatGPT kind of sucked. Because it doesn't crawl websites. And that was one of the feedback I got. It's like, you can't get ChatGPT to crawl your website. But the magic happened when ChatGPT launched Deep Research. Deep Research was the key. If you turn that on, then you're actually going to crawl your website, and you can get good recommendations, and then you just keep refining your prompt over and over and over. Well, I built these two big prompts. I have the title tag one, and then I have another really expansive prompt for internal linking. And the key to both of them functioning properly is the Deep Research button in ChatGPT, which they might not even have now that they've moved to ChatGPT 5. I'm not sure.
I haven't checked. I had it on 4 for sure, but I haven't checked that on 5 yet.
Yeah, I don't know if they have that, but that was the key to be able to crawl the website. It would actually pull everything off the website. Other people suggested you could upload a sitemap. Very smart, right? So you could just give it your sitemap. You don't have to expect it to. But the internal linking thing, the key was the Deep Research. And I'll give you another tip for constructing these prompts. The other tip is you write your first draft of this prompt. You're going to explain what you want ChatGPT to do. But before you execute it, you ask ChatGPT, how could I make this prompt even better? That's a really big key. And so ChatGPT will refine your prompt, and then you get the second version, you read it, you tweak it, you think about it a little bit more, you're like, well, that's not great. And then you execute it a few times, you look at the results, and then you're like, it's missing this, it's missing that. So you just keep refining the prompt, and then you ask it again. Okay, here's my latest version of the prompt. Maybe we can start a whole new chat. How do I make this prompt better? And so you just keep refining it. And I managed to get that internal linking one working so well. It's shocking, especially on a small business website, right? You did it. You're not going to do this on like a 1,000,000-page e-commerce site, but for a small business website, this prompt does such a good job of identifying your service pages and then building internal links to those services pages from all the other pages, and even suggests the text, it suggests where you can put that in the thing. And so it's just a really awesome, useful internal linking tool. And internal linking is one of the overlooked optimization activities. So you can find that on my LinkedIn. Just kind of Google Darren Shaw internal linking ChatGPT. I think you'll probably find it if you Google that. And so it's a prompt. And now those are my tips for prompting.
Yeah, that's really helpful and wonderful tactical advice. So as we come to a close here soon, Darren, and thank you again for being so generous with your time and joining us today. It's been really insightful. We want to kind of come to a close and give our audience here a little bit of peace that, a lot of these things, that a lot of questions that are on your mind, things that you're struggling with and trying to build your agency and get out ahead. It's easy to sometimes we're slammed in work and we have all these priorities, and we can feel a little bit, on an island that we're struggling with these things. And I think great thing about a conversation like this, that you can realize from what Darren is saying here, he's even been working through some of the same things a lot of you agencies are. Future proofing is really difficult. If you don't have a team full of engineers who's ready to constantly bring you new products, be looking for other solutions like this innovative one Darren talked about, he rolled out for a ranking grid, or obviously Birdeye, we've got hundreds of engineers here constantly innovating, bringing in great solutions. So give us opportunity to visit with you, help us bring in better consolidation of your tools, better efficiency. There's so many ways that tools there are tools that can help spell out the ROI for your clients and make it clear, capture as many leads as possible. Darren, you talked about when you mentioned YouTube being a fundamental tactic that you believe we'll be talking about in years. I view that as it's really hard to prove ROI, and I know that those might not seem related on the outside, but if that's such an important tactic, it tells us what's going on in the consumer buyer journey, and that the consumer buyer journey is very complicated. It's not like back in the day when I got into our space, it was like yellow pages. Like if you had the big ad, and if you had AAA plumber, you would perform better than the guy that had a single A plumber.
Almost.
Yeah, so proving ROI is huge, and being able to uh, give your customer reach in all these different places where people are searching is so big. Um, if there is, one kind of final piece of advice, Darren, you could give an agency today,
Yep.
To stay ahead of the evolving world of not just AI, but let's just zoom out even bigger and just of SEO in general.
Yeah.
What's that final piece of advice you'd want them to take away today?
I think it's one word is diversify. So that one word, diversifying your offering, is going to pay dividends in the future, because for a long time we've been very focused on Google, and now you've got to add, we talked about YouTube. The nice thing, all agencies could just start slapping AI search optimization onto their landing pages and saying they do it, because they do it. You do it. You're doing it right now. As you do this SEO, you can now start speaking to it. And so it doesn't take, there's a lot of stuff in the industry right now talking about AI search optimization, and most of it's standard SEO. So the things that you've been doing for the longest time, you can now say, yeah, we do it. Part of the work that we're doing will benefit you in AI search as well. You're an agency that's focused on it, that is in figuring it out, that is reading the latest research. So you could start including it now, because clients, I do think your potential clients are already like, I want an SEO agency, but I want one that's future thinking. That's what we're talking about. This whole session is future thinking. And so you should be investing in understanding and paying attention to all the latest developments in AI visibility. And you can start selling it today, and you could start diversifying your offering to make sure that you are covering all your bases. So if you weren't doing that stuff before, I would say that's the big takeaway for agencies. And I do think that there's lots of great software platforms out there to help you with that. Birdeye, one of them. You have a very robust system. Definitely on the diversification of reviews, on the listing side, there's a lot of stuff in the platform that is really helpful for agencies. Agencies can continue to be the marketing people and just pay attention to the latest education and adjust your practices accordingly. But, there's not that much to adjust. You should have been doing this stuff all along.
Well, Darren, thank you again so much on behalf of Birdeye for joining us today and speaking here at View. Agencies and all other attendees, thank you so much for listening in. Let us know what questions you have, or if you want our notes. Darren, hope to get an opportunity to do this again with you soon.
Anytime.
Take care.
Okay, thanks. See ya.
Bye-bye.